What's happening, everyone? You are about to watch a clip from our podcast. If you want to watch the full clip, head over to Spotify or the other one, and I hope you enjoy it. There is a begrudging acceptance that this is going to happen in my life. Arsenal are going to win the league. It is actually going to happen. They have hit 50 points, which is an outrageous tally at the halfway point of the season. After 19 games, they've managed to hit 50 points. They're on course to be Centurions. They basically look flawless every time they play. Every single hurdle that is placed in their way, they manage to leap over it with aplomb. And I don't really see a world now that they don't win the league. Please, somebody interrupt me and tell me that I'm wrong.
But I can start because of what I've seen. But as a kid watching Arsenal, win with the Invincibles, and even in the late 90s, they played with a smile on their face. Arsene Wenger won Premier Leagues in his way. He didn't grind out Premier Leagues like Mourinho did, or in ugly ways, maybe like Conte, Pellegrini got like a kind of almost a semi-lucky win. Arsene Wenger won it in his way, and I feel this Arsenal side are very reminiscent of that Arsene Wenger title winning side. They're getting points, but they're doing it in their way. They're playing with a smile on their face, confidence. They're playing beautiful football.
If you're going to make echoes, I would say that this team doesn't necessarily echo the teams that you're saying quite so much. I actually disagree with you there. I would say that this echoes the greatest ever title win. I know that people these days will always say Premier League era, and Premier League era, the answer is Aguero, definitely. But the greatest ever title win, I don't know why people like to only make it Premier League era. The greatest ever title win was the 88-89. And that team was Arsenal winning it in the most dramatic way possible at Anfield. They'd gone 20 years without a title. It was a very young team that did it in this similar way. I think this is very reminiscent of what they did in that 88-89 season. And they got there, they managed to eclipse a brilliant Liverpool team in a very similar way to the way that I believe this Arsenal team are going to eclipse a brilliant Man City team. Can you see it happening, Ad? Do you agree?
I said, I'll kind of be one of those that have expected City to just go on this run and eventually take Arsenal over. But one of the things that has to happen for that to happen is Arsenal drop points. And at the moment, they don't look like they're going to drop enough points. Before the World Cup, before Christmas, I thought the same thing. Eventually, City will take control. But then after Christmas, you had that run of fixtures, Brighton away, Newcastle at home.
This is Arsenal we're talking about. They had West Ham at home as well, didn't they? They had West Ham at home. They got a really good result against West Ham.
I thought those 4 games, Brighton away, Newcastle at home, Spurs and Manchester United, I thought they'd drop 4 to 6 points in those fixtures.
Yeah, me too.
But they only dropped 2 points, which was in the draw against Newcastle, and they won every other game. And I think when you've done that, you're now leaving it upon City having to beat them twice. And I know they'd still be 2 points behind them. But if City beat them twice, for me, City are favourites. But I don't see that happening. I genuinely don't see that happen. And that's what I think needs to happen for City to win the league, is they have to beat Arsenal twice. And whilst they could beat them at the Etihad, I think when you win like you did against Manchester United in the last minute, I think you get...
It's a belief. It's a statement.
It felt like a Premier League
something happens, you know what I mean?
It felt very important.
It felt important. Yeah. But there's been many times when Liverpool have won games over the last couple of seasons where I've gone, and I've been more scared of Liverpool win the league than I am of Arsenal. Like, I'd rather Arsenal win the league than City. I don't want City to go 3 in a row. I know your opinions will be different. I hate Arsenal fans and I can't stand them, but outside of that, I want to protect Fergie's legacy.
Yeah,
United only being the one team to do 3 in a row. And it makes the league a whole lot more exciting for next season.
No.
Because anyone can win it.
We've kept Arsenal away from the league for 2 decades. If Pep Guardiola ruins this, we've managed to protect and preserve the Premier League title.
City,
but is it Guardiola?
City would have bottled a one-horse race. Can you imagine that?
To keep that level? Because I feel Arsenal have come and they've taken it into their own hands. I think City, normally, what have we got, 46 points plus? I mean, it's a very, very good... we're on course to 90 points this season.
No, but it's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault twofold. It's your fault for not winning it, and it's your fault for strengthening them.
Yeah. I think obviously we talked about this on the stream on the weekend. I think in the modern day, it's very hard, especially there's always a limited amount of clubs that can pay Premier League wages. If another club comes in and offers Zinchenko good money, a good transfer fee, you can't keep players against their will. We're in the age of player power.
Let me ask you a question now then. If you genuinely believe that, which I don't think you do, he wouldn't do it now. He wouldn't do it now. So say for example, Bernardo Silva's going to leave. This time last year, Bernardo Silva's going to leave. I don't think Pep Guardiola would have protested too much about Bernardo Silva going to Arsenal.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no way. He wouldn't be answering the phone to Arteta
very
now.
short memories in football, and I love Zinchenko.
I think that's disrespect to Arteta from him.
It is just
It was arrogance from Guardiola, I think.
We can't forget the levels that the City are operating at. We're talking about the first side in the history of English football, if you adjust it to smaller and bigger leagues in this country, to ever get 100 points, domestic trebles. We're at a very, very high level, whether you like it or not as a record. Zinchenko, unfortunately, he wasn't at a world-class level to be a fullback for Man City.
But he is now.
He cost us dearly in the Champions League final. Unfortunately, he tried to play offside, didn't track his man. You score and you win your second Champions League. These are the fine margins that Guardiola was looking at with Zinchenko and didn't see him as a long-term world-class left-back.
He was wrong.
And Zinchenko ultimately wanted to say, I want to play in midfield for Arsenal. It's not quite happening. He's playing there as a kind of inverted fullback. But you do look at it and think, how can you keep someone that, they're young, they're vibrant, they want to go out and do things, be a big fish in a smaller pond, with all due respect? And he was a bit lost at Man City.
You could also argue Arsenal have done a lot of this without those two players. Zinchenko's just come back from
but it's the belief around the club.
Out. Yeah. I think I've read something about Zinchenko being someone that came into the dressing room in the summer and was like, we can win the league, and people laughed at him and was like, no, we can't. And now they're not. Now they're not laughing at him, obviously. But maybe he's someone that shifted the mentality and the attitude.
Against United, did you see it when Trossard came on the pitch and Zinchenko's put an arm around him and he's shouting in his ear?
Yeah, having proven winners, having players that know what it's like to go and win in the most hostile of atmospheres. Like, if you think about the massive results where Arsenal are, in my opinion, going to win the league, think back across the season. Where have they won this league? I think they had a massive result against Fulham. I think that was huge. A massive result against Liverpool, obviously huge. The two results against Tottenham, statement, and then Manchester United. Going to Tottenham, and do you know what? In the last, so when you said about their fixtures, they've played the team that were at the time third in Newcastle, at the time fifth in Manchester United, and at the time fourth in Tottenham. Yeah. And they've extended their lead.
The
other way around, but point, yes. Yeah. My delivery is poor, but my point is correct. Yeah. They've managed to extend their lead at the top when they've played three very difficult games. And I think the reason is because of players like Zinchenko. Zinchenko, when he goes to White Hart Lane, he knows how to get results in that condition. Like, that's the hardest game for Arsenal. It's the most intense atmosphere for Arsenal. Going away to Tottenham, that fixture, Arsenal-Tottenham or Tottenham-Arsenal, generally goes with serve. Zinchenko is a winner, a proven winner, won 3 out of 4 league titles. He goes, no, don't, we win here. Manchester United at home, he played, and his celebration at the end, I don't know if it's a Man City link or what, but it was personal to Zinchenko.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because it was Manchester United and he feels City.
It's bred into
I think they thought that was a big result. I think they knew that was a big result.
But he thought it was, out of everyone, they all thought it was a big result, but Zinchenko thought it was bigger than anybody else.
Zinchenko's operating in that Arsenal side with a Man City mentality. And obviously everyone can joke about it never being our mentality 20 years ago, but whatever you say,
it is a mentality
Guardiola
now.
has installed a world-class mentality of winning everything you could possibly win in England, obviously not in Europe. And Zinchenko's done absolute
What surprised
wonders.
me, though, is I thought City would have put a lot more pressure on this Arsenal team. And not just in their performances and in winning games, but Pep seemed resigned to almost losing the league from like 2-3
Oh, I liked his speech the other day.
No, I thought that
really
was
good.
Very good in terms of challenging the club and the players and stuff and the fans.
And it worked. They won 3-0, didn't they, at Canton?
There was one, like a couple of weeks before that, I think when he lost against United, he was like, I don't care about winning the league. And it's like,
he said
a very strange thing to say very early in the season. And it almost felt like he was resigned to not winning the league and this being a transitional season. And that made me think, whoa, that must be music to the ears of Arsenal. There's not been really any pressure put on them by City.
We lost to West Brom. It was the season after Liverpool won the Premier League. I think we lost to West Brom. We dropped points to West Brom. And the following game, I think Ilkay Gundogan at Stamford Bridge turns and scores a goal as a false 9. And in the interview prior to that, he said something very similar, like we're in a transitional season. We're not here to win the Premier League. He does it a lot to ease the pressure off these guys. The thing for City is, and this is a massive thing that I don't think we've actually talked about, that we're halfway through a season. We've not played Arsenal yet. That is down to the World Cup. If we played them when we were meant to, I think it was actually delayed because of the Queen passing, unfortunately. We could have impacted their season. You know, in football, you can impact someone, and we've not had the ability to even impact Spurs. We had that Spurs game delayed.
I think they had a few injuries at that time as well.
Yeah, so if we smashed them 4-0 and we were firing, I mean, Haaland was in unbelievable form.
I think
So
certain things. There are certain things like that. There are certain things that I think have gone Arsenal's way, like the fact that they didn't have to play Manchester City, which could have stifled their development, but. This is the crucial thing about Arsenal. This is why they look so destined for the title. Every single challenge that's put in their way, literally, think about every single hurdle. So they're on some form, it's going their way, then bang, there's an intrusion of a World Cup. Doesn't stop them. In that World Cup, Gabriel Jesus is playing for Brazil against Cameroon. Not only does he go down, but he's then out for 3 months. And we all go, gosh, Eddie Nketiah, that's gonna stifle their growth, the lack of Jesus. No, but having to rely on Eddie Nketiah.
Anything that's probably been better with Nketiah.
Well, the thing is now, it's getting to the stage where you go, if Gabriel, this isn't me for 1 second saying that Eddie Nketiah is a better footballer than Gabriel Jesus. He's obviously not. But I don't think Gabriel Jesus immediately walks back into the
He's not a better goal scorer though. And that's the thing.
I actually think
he's a better footballer. He's not a better. I think Nketiah is a better goal scorer. It's an interesting comment that Rory Jennings made
about
a
1-2 striker at Champions League level for the last 5 years. I mean,
is he though?
Yeah, he is. He's literally a 1-2.
I think Nketiah's already got more goals than him in probably the same amount of games.
Yeah,
roughly.
It's difficult.
And you look at the kind of goals Nketiah scored. I don't think Gabriel Jesus is in those positions.
But we're saying this now about Nketiah.
No, I know.
And I think you've got
to take your hat off to him because I thought there'd be a huge drop off. But there hasn't been, and they've looked a better team with him. I also thought in the Amazon Prime thing that they did, the All or Nothing. Did you see when he was? I can't remember which player it was to. Might have been Lakonga or someone.
Yeah.
But he was moaning about not playing. And he was like, what are you moaning about not playing for? You think you're the only one that's not playing? Just shut up and start working. Do you know what I mean? And he was it was like a really interesting insight into his mentality.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
and there was another thing where he got asked about scoring goals and he was like, you finally scored your debut goal or something. He was like, it's been a month or something since you scored or something like that. And he was like, no, I've been working for this my whole life. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, there seems to be something about him where he's got an opportunity and he's grasping it with both hands.
I mean, they're nice. They're romantic stories. And Eddie Nketiah has done unbelievable. But I still thought a year ago he's championship at best. So he's in a period of form.
He was on loan at Leeds, wasn't he?
He's in a period of form. That though, Booth, but you proved wrong. And this is what I'm saying about Arsenal. You being honest enough to go, I thought that he was a championship player and ending up with egg on your face massively, by the way.
I don't want to be cynical.
Is that Arteta getting more out of the players?
Yeah, he is, of course he is. But I'm not trying to be cynical. I've got a vested interest. I want City to win the league. I think we've got the ability to win the league. This isn't to wind up Adam in terms of Man United or Chelsea or anything, but Arsenal they've had no serious competition in this league so far.
But that includes you.
When we won no, but it's not, because by definition we've not played them yet, and we've got the opportunity, even with the FA Cup coming up, we've got the opportunity to beat them 3 times in 5 6 weeks.
But you drop points against Everton. You have as much opportunity to challenge them by winning that game comfortably.
Yeah, you lost time to Brentford.
In your attitude, in your performances, you've given them a sniff and you've probably given them more confidence.
A Premier League title run-in doesn't start in January.
You lost against United.
It starts at the end of March, April, May. And
United weren't great in that game.
We've got Arsenal in that run-in. And I'm not saying Arsenal out of it.
Manchester United did do you a favour. Manchester United are the only team that's beaten them this year.
Yeah, they did. And I thought for 30 minutes at the back end of the game, I thought they were absolutely shocking Man United, and they offered no resistance.
No,
but we're not talking about Man United being a title
You were 1-0 up against United, and you threw the game away. That comes down to you not challenging them.
The Man City Man United game?
Yeah, you were 1-0 up.
Yeah, and you
20
got
minutes
a goal.
to go.
Let's not go into the cheating thing, but you cheat. I mean,
you could have controlled that game and you could have scored more goals.
I think a decision can rock you. I think a decision that bad can rock you.
If City beat United, Arsenal start thinking, because I think the North London derby was later that day or something like that, or the weekend.
Yeah, of course.
There's a different game for them.
I don't think you can say that neutrally and say, we should have won the game. Ultimately, there was some awful refereeing that we can all agree in the room was terrible. That can affect footballers.
Correct decision.
No, it was ridiculous.
Come on, Adam.
It was a ridiculous.
It's not even for the banter. United win it, City didn't win it. Fine, that's banter. I get it. But on a footballing level, it was the wrong decision. It's affected the results. We can't use that as a fair indicator. All I'm saying is, when City won the Premier League under Guardiola, Centurion season, we beat Conte's Chelsea 1-0, Kevin De Bruyne on his left foot. It felt like a moment. Arsenal beating you lot, you're scrapping for top 4 with Newcastle, Spurs. You got smashed by Brighton at the start of the season. You are scrapping for top 4. You're in a title race for 48 hours.
Or something. Do you think that was a seminal moment? Do you think we have now seen a seminal moment of the season where ultimately in the game against Manchester United, combined with maybe that moment from Guardiola, we're going to look back. You know, when you think about title wins over the years, you can always look back and know that the team won it. Adam often speaks about Cristiano Ronaldo scoring a goal at Craven Cottage. I'll always talk about Arjen Robben scoring a goal at Ewood Park when he broke his foot. There are these moments, and they can happen as early as February. You know, Arjen Robben was in February.
Yeah.
Do you think Arsenal, the week that they had, maybe it's not even a moment in the game, maybe it's not even one game, but in the 7-day period where they beat Tottenham and then beat Manchester United, will that be the season-defining moment of the season?
If they win it, but there's still so much.
Do you think it's going? Do you think it is that? Do you think it is?
I think a lot could. Let's say, and we've seen similar in the past, but again, at this moment in time, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And I'm starting to think Arsenal will win the league. But let's say City play Arsenal. Arsenal get a man sent off early, get battered 4-0.
That then
there's a mentality
moment,
shift, isn't there? There's a
Do you know
are we going to be Arsenal?
I want to see Arsenal win
Also,
that kind of game.
I know
don't think
Rory's
they've done
gonna
it
hate
yet.
this
Spurs are dross. I'm not trying to wind you up. You've been good at points, but you're not a Premier League title challenge inside this season. Maybe you will be. Arsenal haven't beaten anyone worthy of winning the Premier League yet, except Man City.
Do you know what is a
No, but everyone in the they have to beat the people they play.
They're
in
a
the
lot
Premier
closer
League.
than they've ever been for 20
Ultimately,
years. They might
Brighton
be
beat
favourites.
Liverpool 3-0. Beat United 4-0.
Yeah, but
Arsenal go there and win.
Yeah, but Adam, we have to.
United and Newcastle go to Palace.
But we have to look at
0-0.
We have to look at the composition of the Premier League
Arsenal
table.
go there and win.
The Premier League table is very
That's the
interesting
difference.
reading at the moment. We've got 3 sides in the top half that you wouldn't ever expect to be in the top half. We've got Brentford, Brighton, Fulham, Chelsea are mid-table, Liverpool mid-table. So this Arsenal side are, they're top of the table where Man City have fallen off a little bit, but United aren't challenging, Liverpool aren't challenging, Chelsea. So they haven't really fought top 6, strong opposition in the top 6.
If like me, you don't want to see Arsenal win the league, and you and I are obviously aligned for this for very different reasons. Do you know a real problem that we've had? The fact that Adam McKola, the man who will write Arsenal off at every opportunity, never take their challenge seriously, it's a seminal moment in the season because he has just said, I'm beginning to think they're going to win the league.
I back what he says, of course.
No, because the reason I went, this is where their title chase falls off. Brighton, Newcastle, Spurs, United.
And it didn't. And it extended.
They got 10 points.
And they extended the lead.
Now you have to believe what's going on there. But at the same time, I also think it's such fine margins, and Arsenal have that thing in them where the wheels could fall off.
What, in the way?
It's such a young side as well. Do you know what I mean? And last season, we thought they were going to get top 4. They fell off just at the end. And they're chasing City. If any team can go 15, 16 games on a spin.
We've always got nothing to lose, because especially if we have a good run in the Champions League. I mean, the Europa League for Arsenal is a whole different kettle of fish. They're not really going to be focusing on it in February, March, April. We will. So if we start to win in the Champions League, get to the semi-final, for example, then the Premier League becomes a free hit. We can play our form in the Premier League and the Champions League.
That's
with Arsenal,
music
they'll be
to Arsenal fans' ears, that, isn't it? When they start going, Premier League can be a free hit.
Yeah, but you know what I'm trying to say? I think you're more dangerous that way. When Ferguson was going after Champions League, the Premier League form can actually uptake because everyone's gassed to be in the Champions League running. Both times that
Manchester United won the Champions League, they won the league.
Yeah, I know.
So
everyone says, the Europa League, you don't focus on it because it's a terrible competition. It actually just drags you down because the first team players are still going on the plane to let Poznan or what. Do you know what I'm saying?
Do you know what I would say? Arsenal Football Club have been closer to a title than they are now, chasing weaker opposition, and have not won it. The year that Leicester won it, Arsenal. Remember when Arsenal beat Leicester at home that year?
Do you know what?
Arsenal
City don't look like they want to put pressure on, though, and that's the thing. City don't look like they want to put any pressure.
It's whether they implode, isn't it?
I don't think
they have a William Gallas at St Andrews
City at least once in those 2 games.
I'd take them beating us in the FA. I think they beat us in the FA Cup, and I don't know how time sensitive that is, but I think they'll beat us in the FA Cup, and then I think that will hopefully allow.
We're live for that, by the way.
Oh yeah,
I was going to say that to you boys, and for anyone wondering where this random voice is now coming from. Elliot doing the producing of the pod. I have to move these boys along sometimes. We will be live this Friday for Arsenal versus Man City. This goes out on Wednesday, so you find to say that. I've got a 2-pronged question for all of you though. First off, just quickly round the table, do you think they win it?
Yes.
No.
Okay, so off the back of that, no, I don't think they do. And the reason I'm going to say that is, what I've got in front of me now. For this weekend, after they won, was the first time they went favourites for the title. And it's still just under evens. Man City are just above evens. I still think Man City claw this back. And, some of you thinking it was wrapped up already. bookmakers certainly don't
We've
think
said
so.
that about Liverpool a few times as well, and I remember thinking, "Oh my God, Liverpool are going to win number 20 here," and it never happened.
Yeah.
Thank God. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were much closer. They were 3 games away, weren't they?
I think the Premier League is a squad game. I think it's about. Unfortunately, I think Chelsea changed the dynamic.
They're getting
Even
that rub of
Blackburn in
the
the 90s.
green.
They are, but I'd rather have that rub of the green in April and be 1 point clear.
Yeah,
and I know
I
they've got
agree
more
with you there.
points
Do you
now.
reckon if they don't win it, their fans are calling for his head?
They'll have meltdowns. We have to do a stream. We have to have a continuous 24/7 stream of bantering Arsenal
Whatever
fans
happens
until we
this
fall
year,
asleep.
I think whatever happens
Constant
this year,
stream.
they will be so happy with this season. Whatever. Look, I know expectations change through the season, but when you think about how bad it's been for them, the late Wenger years were turgid. Right the way through, late Wenger, Emery, they didn't like, they weren't happy. Then they had that weird Lundberg game.
But they've
And
had a
even
period
early
where they wanted
they
Arteta
hated.
out.
Even
Yeah.
early Arteta, they hated. You know, they finished 8th twice. So, no, I think this season will be a breath of fresh air for them. They're the youngest team in the league. I think regardless of how it goes, this will be...
That's what drives me mad, actually. You know, Arsenal fans here getting onto me are talking about, oh, look at us, top of the league, and all this stuff, yeah. Oh, ain't you an idiot? Bruv, nobody expected you to be here. Even you fools. You fools were flogging Arteta out t-shirts, hashtagging Arteta out, all this stuff, going mad on Arsenal Fan TV about Arteta. And you want to have a go at me for thinking you wouldn't win the league and you wouldn't be this good. I just find it crazy. No one expected you to be
I like
there.
how you're delivering a monologue down the left.
I just thought...
Who's it to in particular?
Do you know what, yeah? Because I just thought I can
You're not
post
talking
this
to
on
us
TikTok.
anymore. He's down the left.
I can post this on TikTok
He's
and I
gone.
don't have to reply
He's
to
gone.
any of these mugs anymore. You got Joel at me and tagging me in videos.
Yeah, I saw that. That was weird.
You're a
That
mug.
was strange.
I haven't
from
heard
Joel.
from you in about 2 years.
Yeah, that was strange. Actually.
Joel.
Joel
You see,
Bayer.
Joel read out
Yeah.
a list of Man United fans. He's just like, here's to Adam McKola, here's to Stephen Allison.
Yeah.
But you can't do that until
Like an
you win the
obituary.
league.
Yeah,
you can't do that until you win the league. It's very early.
That's what I'm saying. That pressure.
Who's going to be William Gallas for Arsenal?
Yeah, that's what we need. We need William Gallas at
one's
St
talking about
Andrews. Who is going to be William Gallas at St Andrews? What was the other one they lost? Well, it was a League Cup final, wasn't it? They lost against Birmingham. Nicola Zivic.
Obafemi Martins.
Oh, but
Yeah.
everyone-
Yeah.
who got their head slapped while they were on the floor crying during the celebrations? Do you remember that? Was it Mertesacker or something?
Yes, yeah, I remember ruffled his hair.
And they
yeah,
did what Robertson did to Messi.
Yeah, I do remember.
Robertson, the cheek, by the way.
Right, one last thing then, before we wrap this clip up. One question left. Do they set a new points record?
No, absolutely not.
No way.
They don't hit 100 points. Absolutely no way.
The big
Impossible.
thing to consider when the Centurions got 100 points, we lost a few games.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like we went invincible by definition. So when Arsenal have the wobble, every side will have a wobble. The Invincibles had wobbles. They didn't win anything in Europe that season. So we haven't seen it from Arsenal yet. I thought we'd see it after the Man United loss at the start of the season. Obviously, they turned it around instantly.
Mate, they're gonna
There's
win
gonna be
the
a
league,
wobble.
but they are going to. There's no way that they can replicate this first half
Their
of the season.
expected
form.
points so far, and I know you hate stuff like this, was 42 and they've got 50. So they're outperforming
themselves.
what
If they
they're
lose-
supposed to do.
If they lose, their second choice of how they get around, how they adjust to
If they don't
losing
win the
isn't
league,
good enough,
they finish
in my
third or
opinion.
fourth.
Maybe.
Like, that's how mad it will be.
I think there's a good chance of that happening.
If they don't win, but they're probably not in the league.